Seattle and King County have ripped more than $150 million away from the King County Regional Homelessness Authority today. That is more than 75% of the agency's budget.
Now, some are calling for it to be dismantled altogether, while others would like it to just be put on the right track once and for all. Over $44 million in negative cash balances and $13 million that can't be accounted for.
The RHA has spent more than $200 million each year for a 5-year total of more than $1 billion.
How have we spent $1 billion, yet more people are ending up on the streets?
It's unacceptable.
I think we need to take this seriously. We need to disband KCRHA.
Seattle City Council member Maritza Rivera tells KCRHA 7 the only way forward is to dismantle the Homelessness Authority entirely and start over fresh.
We still need to.
We found 204 tiny homes are locked in this storage yard in Soto, unused. We also found dozens of homeless people living within a few blocks of here.
We are human beings, and we are looking for shelter where we're safe.
And the shelter's right there.
And it's right there.
We wanted to get answers about the tiny homes from the King County Regional Homelessness Authority's interim CEO, Helen Howell, but we were declined an interview.
There was a reported $8 million that had been unaccounted for. I did not take on board that there was an $8 million that was unaccounted for that now will have to come out of the backs of our taxpayers. That's not great.
So we've got a major shakeup with how homelessness is going to be handled here in King County and specifically Seattle. The King County Regional Homeless Authority, the one that's supposed to be driving this fight to get all these folks housed, it's going to lose all of its funding from Seattle and all of its funding from the county. It's only going to get whatever few federal funds trickle in during the Trump administration. So while leadership says that we're not shutting it down, they're basically defunding it to the point where it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do anything. The saga of homelessness here in Seattle, the absolute cycle, the homeless industrial complex, you've got the blind leading the blind. Let's get into it. Let's see what we got going on. I mean, there's so many things in this storyline. You're just like, what? We're doing what? Why are we doing this? All right, here we go.
Conference, but it's not a celebration.
King County Executive Gurmai Zahalai and Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson were clear. They're not getting rid of the King County Regional Homelessness Authority, but the city and county are pulling their money from it and will now manage it themselves.
And not just that it's not being dissolved, it is being strengthened. So we are trying to position it so that it can perform those core functions and crucially being a strong applicant for continuum of care funds.
Following the April forensic evaluation that revealed the agency couldn't account for 13 million taxpayer dollars, several city and county elected officials called to dissolve KCRHA.
Cats get 9 lives. This organization has had 10, one more than it should have. It's time for it to go.
Starting next year, the organization will continue to manage only federal funds.
We just got the results of the recent point in time count. We have seen another significant increase, especially in our rates of unsheltered homelessness, which we should all feel is unacceptable.
KCRHA's current CEO, Dr. Kelly Kinnison, was not a part of the press conference, but she answered questions after about what led up to this moment.
A very bad situation and something taxpayers should be very mad about. And if I could go back and do it differently, I would.
In addition to mismanaged funds, the organization's efforts didn't improve the region's homelessness crisis. Since its formation in 2019, more people in Seattle and King County, not fewer, are unhoused.
As it was launched, it is a failed experiment, and I think we need to do something different.
These contract changes are scheduled to happen the beginning of next year, and with these changes, the agency is slated to lose around 20 to 25 employees. In Seattle, Sharon Yu, King 5 News.
Okay, a couple of things there. So at least Katie Wilson is able to recognize, hey, the numbers for the unhoused, we've spent $1.1 billion on homelessness in the last 5-6 years. And homelessness has just steadily increased. And recently it increased even more. And so Say what you want about Katie Wilson. What I'm going to say there, and I'm going to give her a win whenever there is something positive, which is identifying, hey, can't have this. All right, but that's a pretty easy call because they are defunding this regional homelessness authority. They're defunding them. They're basically cutting off their nuts, for lack of a better term. They're neutering this agency. It's like, okay, we're pulling back we're pulling back county funds, we're pulling back city funds. You guys get whatever few dollars you can get out of the feds, right? And it's just not a lot. It's not enough to run this agency. Now, the lady that we saw with the glasses and the reddish tinted hair, she is the current CEO of this regional housing authority. She took over from Mark Dones. Mark Dones was a they, them. When you have a DEI hire that has zero business running an entity of this magnitude with the level of homelessness in Seattle, you're kind of destined to fail. This is the tail end of that failure story. You guys, most of your people are going to be fired. You're going to end up with a little bit of federal funding. You're going to run the federal funding portion of it, but the city is taking back their money and the county is taking back their money. And the crazy thing is this was supposed to be a regional approach under one leader, which was the entity we're talking about. But again, when you have housing first as your policy for how to end homelessness, which is take a bunch of whacked out drug addicts with mental issues that belong in psych wards and detox centers, and you just put them in their own housing, guess what happens? Yeah, you just attract more drug addicts with mental issues. And that is what has happened here in the Seattle area. Spencer Pratt down in LA, he recognized that. He said when he disengages from the homeless industrial complex, if he were to get elected, he's not now because Rahman miraculously came from behind with 9 billion votes, mail-in votes. I think they're still counting them. When Spencer Pratt said, hey, when we disengage from the homeless industrial complex and we stop funding all of this absolute ridiculousness, which is what we're talking about here, 44,000 of those folks will go to Seattle. And it was really interesting that he picked Seattle and not Portland, right? Or San Francisco. San Francisco is taking a wildly different approach. Portland doesn't have the money. Seattle still has the industry to make it go. Portland doesn't. Oregon doesn't. So what you've got going on here is a complete neutering of what was supposed to be the be-all and end-all to end homelessness here in the Seattle area. And then all of a sudden, you've got this report that came out, an audit that came out that basically said, well, I don't give a damn about 15 million, 13 million, 8 million. When you're spending $1 billion, who cares? What did the numbers do? Did the numbers go up or did the numbers go down? Oh, they went up? Oh, they went up significantly? Oh, good Lord. Build it and they will come. And they've come. And they're here. And they ain't going anywhere. Because why would they? You've built an environment that is ideal to be a whacked out lunatic drug dealer. Jonathan Cho had some great footage of a couple of dudes in homeless encampment, basically at the foot of the Space Needle as the World Cup is going on. And I had and they were telling him to get out. They're basically just running him out. Last Saturday, I need to get some footage of the video I took. I took a bunch of video last Saturday during the Iran-Egypt game in downtown Seattle, in Pioneer Square and the waterfront. So, of course, you're with your 33-year-old son, you're having father-son time. Where do you end up going? Oh, you first start off with Pike and Pine 3rd. You start off with Seattle's Blade, one of the worst intersections in Pacific Northwest, north of California. We've had shootings there. We've had stabbings. We've had assaults. We've had you name it. We've had it there. So of course I'm going to film, and I filmed that. And some drug addict and some drug dealer started yelling at me. Hey, you weirdo! Why are you filming? Well, we're on a public sidewalk, you nitwit. We're in a public street and a public sidewalk. We're in the middle of downtown Seattle, and you're yelling at me for taking footage. It's because there's no leadership actually providing, hey, you do that kind of stuff, you're going to get arrested. There's none of that in Seattle. It's kind of this, well, I mean, we'll get you some housing, and then we'll just hope it all works. You got to have one entity running homelessness that does a check-in with every single homeless person as they identify them, then start to get them services. And if they don't comply, and if you catch them out just living wherever, hey, you want to go to treatment? Great. If not, jail. But we'll never do that here because that would violate their civil rights. King County Regional Homelessness Authority will see more than 75% of its budget slashed and lay off dozens of workers as King County and Seattle take control of $160 million worth of homeless service contracts. That's annually. It comes after financial management issues. And again, I don't really give a damn about, okay, so 13 million, if they're wasting, 50 million, okay. They can't work out financial management issues. That wasn't the key factor for me. It was the fact that it's simply not working. Homelessness is getting worse. So, your entire job is, it's like, you're supposed to pick up garbage from the side of the street. And then the garbage just piles up and you don't do your job and it just gets worse. And somebody comes out and looks around and goes, wow, garbage is 25% more. And then everybody looks around at each other and goes, it's just like, pick up the damn garbage. Do what you got to do to pick up the damn garbage. Other cities, other regions, other areas are having success. Houston, a big one. Dallas, a big one. Yeah, they're not dicking around with all of this just absolute absurdity of, well, we're going to do this. They've got one single approach and they follow it. So lack of organizational policy, they got controls over gift card and purchase card spending. I mean, not a shocker. It does not mean King County or City of Seattle are walking away from regional collaboration. This was our King County executive, Gurme Zahile. Did I get that right? That is a tricky last name. It said in a press conference. They're not walking away from it, but they are certainly distancing themselves. When you pull back all of the city and county funding, yeah, it's certainly not engaging further, is it? We remain firmly committed to a regional homelessness response system. What is changing is how responsibilities will be reorganized, meaning the regional aspect just basically, again, it gets neutered. It's, oh yeah, you guys are no longer regional. We're just going to let you flounder around with the federal money. Good luck with that. I hope Trump gives you a big federal dollars, right? The HUD has defunded Los Angeles Housing Service Authority, LAHSA, however you come up with that one. And they're suing. And, feds say, HUD says, you guys are just absolutely misusing funds. We're not giving you any more. We're not giving you any more money. It's kind of like the feds decided, we're not giving $4 billion to the high-speed light rail going nowhere. Because that makes sense, because that thing is going nowhere. Contracts are between the city, the county, or both. Service providers provide housing, shelter, or mental and behavioral health services. How can you spend $1 billion and this gets worse? How are you spending $160 million? How are you spending? It's more like a quarter. It's $225 million. It's somewhere in that range between the feds, city, and county. You're spending $250 million on a regular basis, and things aren't getting better. That just tells you the approach is absolutely effed, isn't it? It's terrible. If this were a business, this would have been shut down inside of a year because the results aren't there. Just like, oh, is it getting better? Oh, it's not? All right. Defund. The King County Regional Homelessness budget will be reduced by nearly $203 million. 80%. 80%. Up to 30 of their 70 staff members be laid off. 12 people will be hired to manage contracts at the at the agency because they're not really designed to do that. It's a massive shakeup. Will it do anything moving forward? No. No. Because everybody knows that Seattle is the place to go. Seattle is where you go. And you know what? Seattle has cleaned up well for the World Cup games, but you are going to see an absolute, and the wave goes out and then it comes back in even harder. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. That backflow or whatever they call that. This agency was given incredible responsibility without sufficient capacity or authority. Well, because you put a DEI hire in front and then you got a bunch of nitwits running around. So sufficient capacity or authority, literally, you've got the blind leading the blind here. Nobody is really in charge. Nobody is really creating solutions to end homelessness, period. Just not happening. Not happening. City Council members Bob Kettle, Diane Foster, Alexis Mercedes Rink announced support for this change and the desire to keep a regional approach. All right. And then we've got Maritza Rivera and Rod Dembowski. They want to dissolve the agency. And that's what I think should happen. Just completely eradicate them and start from scratch. The only reason they don't is because we've spent millions and millions and millions of taxpayers' dollars on an approach that doesn't work. And so they're gonna neuter them first, and then they're gonna kind of rebuild it. We'll see how it goes. It's leadership in our area consistently provides solutions because they're not business people. Because a lot of these folks are just flat out not business people. They go after these solutions that don't work, that just don't work. They're never going to work. You're looking at this from the standpoint that's so gone down the wrong path, which is housing first it's really gonna work. It's never worked and it won't work moving forward. You got to really step on the individual reach out to each homeless person. Seattle doesn't do that at all. Seattle just lets people live wherever the F they want. I was seeing in Andrea Suarez of We Heart Seattle. She's at the heart of basically exposing all of this just absolute ridiculousness. Reading one of her stories where, they're finding a 9-month-old baby in a tent with an addict mother who doesn't know who the dad is because it was some trick. So, and she's in there with her pimp and she's got this 9-month-old baby and they put her with services and she didn't like that because then she can't get her drugs because she can't do the whole hooking thing. And we allow that. We just allow that to happen. So where's the protection for the 9-month-old baby? Where's that? Baby's literally living in a tent with a whacked out drug addict who's spreading her legs for every Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes along. Literally. That kid needs to be adopted out. You know what I mean? And maybe give some visitation rights when the mom gets clean, if the mom ever does. But there's so much misguided compassion that has created this scenario where you've literally got all of these entities and nobody knows what to do. They just don't. They're just like, oh. So strengthening the program. Cutting off 80% of the funding is strengthening it. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. I mean, if by strengthening you mean basically cutting it off at the knees and it's got use of a couple of its thumbs to do a couple of tasks, okay, all right. But they're just allowing this to have as little control over what few federal dollars that they can get. And I think everybody recognizes that the King County Regional Homeless Authority, the way it got started and its DEI hire CEO and a bunch of other people that are involved in there, they were just, they were grabbing paychecks and it was never about ending homelessness. It was about participating in the homeless industrial complex, which is give me a big fat paycheck. And every now and then we'll go out and We'll do a little bit of outreach, and we'll call it good. And we'll misplace, some millions of dollars, and not really provide any results. And the one thing you're supposed to do, which is get people off the streets, you don't do. And then, reckoning day comes, and people who have been funding all of your nonsense are saying, can't do this anymore. Yeah, no, you know what, Sherlock? Wilson does not think the legislation will pass city council for absolutely dissolving the regional authority. It's not being dissolved, it's being strengthened. So we're trying to position it so we can perform these core functions. All right, yeah. When it comes to homelessness, I don't believe anything that anybody tells me in Seattle, in the Pacific Northwest, in Oregon. I just don't. Because all of the people who actually know what it's going to take to make a real difference and get people to the places they need to be don't get listened to. They're not in positions of authority. So to me, it's like we want this homeless industrial complex. We're willing to put up with it. And we're not really willing to do the real work that other cities are currently doing. And we look ridiculous because we look ridiculous. Come to Seattle. Come to Seattle. It's so great. Yeah, but there's some real underlying issues. And all the people that have been pushed out of the downtown core because of the World Cup game, those people are going to come absolutely flooding back in. And then that's the real reality. We can clean up nicely. We put on a nice suit. We put on a nice dress for those out-of-town neighbors, out-of-town relatives coming in. And we look good. And, we got Space Needle, we got the mountains, we got Puget Sound. I mean, it's epic. It's epic. But then you've got some of the worst homelessness issues. You got people running around chasing each other with swords, shooting each other. You got pimp on pimp action that is out of control. You got some real civil issues going on as this whole World Cup thing comes. I hope Trump comes to town. I hope Trump comes to town just to upset everybody in Seattle. He's supposed to maybe come for the game on the next World Cup game, the USA game here in Seattle. That would be funny because people are just going to lose their mind. Orange man bad. He's terrible. Yeah, don't care. He's your president. Another 3 years. Suck it up. Enjoy it, boys and girls. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Love to have you subscribe. Hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.